A ship was traveling in a dangerous part of the sea. The captain saw a pirate ship approaching their vessel. The captain yells to his crew, "Men, bring me my red shirt." The crew brings him his red shirt. He puts it on and leads the men in battle. They lose one man, but on the whole, it was a great victory. Everyone wonders what the deal is with the red shirt, but they just shrug it off. A few days later, the captain sees 2 pirate ships in the distance. He again yells, "Men, bring me my red shirt." The crew does so, and they fight off the pirates. They lose a few more men this time, but at least most of them are unharmed. However, this time curiosity got the best of them, and they ask the captain why he's asked for his red shirt during the battles. He answers, "Well, crew, I know all of you look to me for support and morale. I knew there would be a good chance of me getting injured, and I didn't want you to see me all bloody and fear that all is lost. Therefore, I put on a red shirt, so that my injuries will blend in with the shirt." A few weeks later, the ship is traveling in another sea, and in the distance, there are suddenly 10 fearsome pirate ships. The captain spots them and yells, "Men, bring me my brown pants." Yesterday, my son emailed me asking why I didn't do something useful with my time. Like sitting around playing on my computer is not a good thing, I asked. Talking about my doing something useful seems to be his favorite topic of conversation. He said he was only thinking of me, he said, and suggested that I go down to the senior center and hang out with the men. I did this, and when I got home last night, I decided to play a prank on him. I emailed him and told him that I had joined a parachute club. He replied, "Are you nuts? You are 60 years old, and now you're going to start jumping out of airplanes." I told him that I even got a membership card and emailed a copy to him. He immediately telephoned me and yelled, "Good grief, Mom, where are your glasses? This is a membership to a club, not a parachute club." "Oh man, I'm in trouble again," I said. "I really don't know what to do. I signed up for 5 jumps a week." The line went quiet, and his friend picked up the phone and said that my son had fainted. Life as a senior citizen is not getting any easier, but sometimes it can be fun. One day, my mother was out, and my dad was in charge of me. I was maybe 1 to 2 years old and had just recovered from an accident. Someone had given me a little tea set as a get-well gift, and it was one of my favorite toys. Daddy was in the living room, engrossed in the evening news, when I brought Daddy a little cup of tea, which was just water. After several cups of tea and lots of praise for such yummy tea, my mom came home. My dad made her wait in the living room to watch me bring him a cup of tea because it was just the cutest thing. My mom waited, and sure enough, I walked down the hall with a cup of tea for Daddy, and she watched him drink it up. Then she says, as only a mother would know, "Did it ever occur to you that the only place that your daughter can reach to get water is the toilet?" My wife and I were reflecting on the past year whilst dining at a restaurant. I started to complain about something that hadn't happened the way I wanted it to. My wife focused her attention on a Christmas tree that someone put there. I thought that she wasn't interested in the conversation. so I changed the subject. "This tree has a beautiful illumination," I said. "Yes, but if you look carefully, you can see one burnt light among dozens. It seems to me that instead of thinking of this year as dozens of enlightened blessings, you chose to look at the one light that did not glow." 4. A woman places an ad in the local newspaper. "Looking for a man with 3 qualifications. Won't beat me up, won't run away from me, and is great in bed." 2 days later, her doorbell rings. "Hi, I'm Tim. I have no arms, so I won't beat you, and no legs, so I won't run away." "What makes you think you're great in bed?" the woman retorts. Tim replies, "I rang the doorbell, didn't I?" A blonde was driving down the road when she saw the flash of a traffic camera. Confused, she thought, "Wait, I wasn't even speeding." Determined to figure it out, she went around the block and passed the same spot, this time driving even slower. Flash! The camera got her again. Thinking it was hilarious, she went around one more time, creeping by at a snail's pace. Flash! Now she was laughing out loud. "This camera's broken," she thought. By the 5th time around, she was in tears from laughing, convinced the camera was malfunctioning. A few weeks later, she was pulled over by a cop who handed her 5 tickets. "What for?" she exclaimed. "Ma'am," the cop said, "those flashes were for driving without a seatbelt, not speeding." She sighed. "Well, you just can't fix stupid, can you?" An elderly couple who were childhood sweethearts had married and settled down in their old neighborhood. To celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary, they walk down to their old school. There, they hold hands as they find the desk they shared and where he had carved, "I love you, Sally." On their way back home, a bag of money falls out of an armored car practically at their feet. She quickly picks it up, and they don't know what to do with it, so they take it home. There, she counts the money, and it's $50. The husband says, "We've got to give it back." She says, "Finders keepers." Put the money back in the bag and hides it up in their attic. The next day, 2 FBI men are going from door to door in the neighborhood looking for the money and show up at their home. One knocks on the door and says, "Pardon me, but did either of you find any money that fell out of an armored car yesterday?" She says, "No." The husband says, "She's lying. She hid it up in the attic." She says, "Don't believe him. He's getting senile." But the agents sit the man down and begin to question him. One says, "Tell us the story from the beginning." The old man says, "Well, when Sally and I were walking home from school yesterday." At this, the FBI guy looks at his partner and says, "We're outta here." A jobless man applied for the position of office boy at a very big company. The employer interviewed him, then a test. Clean the floor. "You are hired," the employer said. "Give me your email address, and I'll send you the application to fill out, as well as when you will start." The man replied, "I don't have a computer or an email." "I'm sorry," said the employer. "If you don't have an email, that means you do not exist. And who doesn't exist cannot have the job." The man left with no hope. He didn't know what to do. with only $10 USD in his pocket. He then decided to go to the supermarket, bought a 10-kilo tomato crate, then sold the tomatoes door to door. In less than 2 hours, he succeeded and doubled his capital. He repeated the operation 3 times and returned home with $60 USD. The man realized that he could survive this way and started to go every day earlier and returned late. Thus, his money doubled or tripled every day. Shortly later, he bought a cart, then a truck, and then he had his own fleet of delivery vehicles. 5 years later, the man's company was one of the biggest food retailers. He started to plan his family's future and decided to have life insurance. He called an insurance broker and chose a protection plan. When the conversation was concluded, the broker asked him for his email. The man replied, "I don't have an email." The broker replied curiously, "You don't have an email and yet have succeeded to build an empire. Do you imagine what you could have been if you had an email?" The man paused for a while and replied, "An office boy." A blonde is going door to door, trying to find some paying work. She knocks on one door and an older man opens it up. "Hey, mister, do you have any odd jobs I could do for cash?" He looks her up and down and surmises that she's an idiot whom he can take advantage of. "I'll give you $10 if you paint my porch. There's paint, brushes, ladders, and everything you'll need next to the car in the garage." "Sure, sounds great." The man closes the door, chuckling at what a great deal he's just brokered. Half an hour later, there's another knock at the door. He opens it up, and there's the blonde. "You're finished already?" he asked her incredulously. "Yeah, it isn't really that big. But I think you should know, that's not a porch. It's a Jaguar." A broker, a thief, and a conman walk into a party. After they finish their drink, the thief heads for the door. The broker runs ahead of him and holds the door open for him. "Bye," said the thief, and upon which the broker stomped a hole in the floorboards, sending the thief down to the basement where they keep the wine. Next, the conman finishes his drink and heads for the door. "Bye," says the conman, and in response, the broker stomps his feet again, sending the conman down to join the thief. Seeing this, the tender asks, "How did you know they were criminals?" The broker replies, "I didn't. I'm just a broker. I connect a buyer and a seller." A retired stockbroker moves to the country. He buys a large plot of land and is living by himself for a few months when he gets a knock on the door. The man answers the door and a large country boy is standing there. "Mer, name is Bubba. I'm your neighbor with the farm across from ya." The man is excited as he hasn't really seen another person in months. "Oh, nice to meet you," he says enthusiastically. "I know you just moved here. I wanted to invite you to a party I'm having. But I got to be honest with you and let you know about the fact that I make a mean moonshine, and there's often drinking going on there at the party." The man thinks about it and says, "Well, I'm a retired stockbroker. I used to drink with the best of them after work every night. Sounds like a good time to me. Also, gotta warn you that there may be some fighting occasionally break in. Out." Well, I suppose I did decide I wanted to live the country life when I moved out here, and I guess that it's just part of the life here. I'm still in. Also, gotta warn you, they may be some wild sex at the parties. You know how it goes sometimes. Well, I've been living alone for months. I definitely will be there. What do I need to bring? Should I make something to eat, or just bring myself? You bring anything you want. It's just gonna be you and me. A kid was sitting with the maid and had the following conversation. Maid: you must leave this house. Kid: why? Maid: there are ghosts here. Later that day, the kid was sitting with his dad. Kid: Dad, the maid told me we should leave this house because there are ghosts in it. Dad: pack your bags. Kid: Dad, do you really believe in ghosts? Dad: we don't have a maid. One day, an old man decided he had enough and went to court to file for a divorce. Standing before the judge, the man looked frustrated. The judge, sensing his distress, asked, "Why do you want to divorce your wife?" The old man sighed heavily and said, "Your Honor, I'm just not happy with her. She doesn't make me feel good, and I'm miserable." The judge, wanting to hear both sides, turned to the wife and asked, "Is this true? Is your husband unhappy because of you?" The wife, unfazed, smiled confidently and replied, "The entire neighborhood is happy with me, Your Honor. It's just this guy who can't seem to handle it." The maid asked the master's wife for a pay raise. The wife was very upset about this and decided to talk to her about the raise. She asked, "Now, Maria, why do you want a pay increase?" Maria: "Well, Senora, there are 3 reasons why I want to increase. The first is that I iron better than you." Wife: "Who said you iron better than me?" Maria: "Your husband, he say so." Wife: "Oh yeah?" Maria: "The second reason is that I am a better cook than you." Wife: "Nonsense! Who said you were a better cook than me?" Maria: "Joe Hoban did." Wife, increasingly agitated: "Oh, he did he?" Maria: "The third reason is that I am better at than you, wife," really boiling now and gritting her teeth. "And did my husband say that as well?" Maria: "No, Senora. The gardener did." Wife: "So, how much do you think would be fair?" A maid worked at the house of a very rich couple. One day, she was peacefully sweeping the floor when the phone rang. She answered it. "Hello, who am I talking to?" "It's me, the boss. Is my wife already home?" "What?" "I mean, yes, she's here, sir, but why are you calling? Aren't you here too?" "What do you mean?" "I'm at work." "So wait. That means that man wasn't you?" "What man?" "I'm confused, sir. 1 hour ago, I saw your wife crossing the gates accompanied by a gentleman. I saw it through the second-floor window, so I couldn't quite make up his face. Although I assumed it was you, sir, since they... Oh dear. Since they gave a kiss." "What? Where are they now?" "I heard steps heading to the bedroom, sir." "You mean to tell me that just as we speak, my wife is in the bedroom with another man?" "Sir, I don't want to tell you. I frankly thought it was you. I would never imagine that ma'am could do such a thing with you. I'm sorry for being the one that has to tell you." The maid hears her boss dropping the phone as he mutters and swears out loud. After some seconds, he finally pulls himself together and picks up the phone again. "Listen carefully. By the time I'm here, that dog might have been gone. So I need you to do something. You must grab a knife from the kitchen and kill those bastards. It won't be hard. They will never see it coming from you." "Sir, I can't do that." "I'll pay you $10,000. Have we got a deal?" The maid thinks about how much use she would have for that amount of money, so she ends up accepting the offer. The boss decides to keep up the call until she's finished. She picks up the biggest knife of the drawer and silently heads towards the bedroom. She opens the door. The lights are off, and she can only see the silhouette of a couple making passionate love. They both turn at her in surprise, but she quickly gives a stab wound on each one, ending their lives. As their bleeding bodies taint the bed, she reports back to her boss at the phone. "I did it, sir. They're dead." "Good job. I'll give you the payment as soon as I'm home." "What will we do with the bodies?" "I'll put them on my trunk and dispose of them in a safe place. Just put them next to the pool for now." Sir, we don't have a pool." "Yes, we have." "What are you talking about?" "Sir, I've been working here for 3 years. I never saw any pool." "What? You've been working here for just 2? Wait a minute." "What?" "I'm sorry, I called wrong number." Rumor got round that the bear kept a list of all the animals he plans to kill. Scared and confused, the wolf went to confront the bear. "Bear," said Wolf, "do you really keep a list of all the animals you plan to kill?" "I do," said the bear. "And is my name on it?" asked the wolf. "It is," the bear growled. And the following morning, the wolf was found dead on the forest floor. The fox came later that day to confront the bear. "Bear," she said, "do you really keep a list of all the animals you plan to kill?" "I do," said the bear. "And is my name on it?" she asked. "It is." The bear growled. And the following morning, Fox's mangled remains were found lying on the forest floor. That day, the rabbit too decided to confront the bear. "Bear," he said, "do you really keep a list of all the animals you plan to kill?" "I do," said the bear. "And is my name on it?" asked the rabbit. "It is," the bear growled. Can you remove it?" "Oh, for sure." The husband and his young wife were not on good terms. In fact, the wife was convinced that he was carrying on with the pretty housemaid, so she laid a trap. One evening, she suddenly sent the maid home for the weekend and didn't inform the husband. That night, when they went to bed, the husband gave the old story. "Excuse me, my dear. My stomach," and disappeared towards the bathroom. The wife promptly dashed along the corridor, up the back stairs, and into the maid's bed. She just had time to switch the lights off when he came in silently. He wasted no time or words and f***ed her like there was no tomorrow. When he finished, and while he was still panting, the wife said, "You didn't expect to find me in this bed, did you?" and switched on the light. "No, madam," said the gardener. A society lady rushes into the employment office one afternoon, visibly stressed, and demands a maid immediately. It seems she's hosting a fancy dinner party that evening, and her maid just quit. The man at the agency calmly explains that all the maids available have just arrived from Ireland. They're completely untrained. The lady, desperate, insists she'll train the girl herself, but needs someone right away. The agency man asks for volunteers, and Molly steps forward. She agrees to go and be trained quickly. That night, the dinner party unfolds, and although a few guests mysteriously disappear for short moments, everything runs smoothly. Molly does an exceptional job. The next morning, while walking down the upstairs hall, the lady notices Molly standing in one of the guest rooms. She appears to be making the bed, but is oddly frozen in place. Curious, the lady walks in and peers over Molly's shoulder. Lying on the bed is a condom. The lady turns scarlet, awkwardly chuckling. "Why, Molly?" Surely you've seen these in Ireland, haven't you? Molly. Oh, sure we have, madam, but we don't skin them. They hired a lovely lass for the job. She worked out fine, was a good cook, was polite, and kept the house neat. One day, after about 6 months, she came in and said she would have to quit. But why? Asked the disappointed wife. She hemmed and hawed and said she didn't want to say. But the wife was persistent, so finally she said, "Well, on my day off a couple of months ago, I met this good-looking fellow from over in the next county, and well, I'm pregnant." The wife said, "Look, we don't want to lose you. My husband and I don't have children, and we'll adopt your baby if you will stay." She talked to her husband. He agreed, and the maid said she would stay. The baby came, they adopted it, and all went well. After several months, though, the maid came in again and said that she would have to quit. The wife questioned her, found out that she was pregnant again, talked to her husband, and offered to adopt the baby if she would stay. She agreed. Had the baby? They adopted it. And life went on as usual. In a few months, however, she again said she would have to leave. Same thing. She was pregnant. They made the same offer she agreed, and they adopted the third baby. She worked for a week or two, but then said, "I am definitely leaving this time." "Don't tell me you're pregnant again?" asked the lady of the house. "No," she said. "There are just too many kids here to pick up after." The plumber assesses the situation and says, "I can fix it today for $800. The lawyer, surprised, asks, "How long will it take?" The plumber replies, "I'll need about an hour to get a part from the supply house and another hour to do the repair." The lawyer, smirking, says, 2 hours for $800? That's $400 per hour. I'm a lawyer, and I charge $350 per hour. The plumber nods and says, "Yes, I understand. That's why I left my law practice." After giving the man a regular checkup and running some tests, the doctor eventually returned with 3 bottles. One with blue pills, one with green pills, and one with red pills. "This is a month's supply of pills," the doctor explains. "Every morning, take one of the blue pills with a large glass of water. Every lunchtime, take one of the green pills with another large glass of water. And at bedtime, take one of the red pills with another large glass of water." Concerned with the number of pills he's going to be taking, the man asks, "What's wrong with me, doctor?" "You're not drinking enough water." A multi-millionaire living in Australia decided to throw a party and invited all of his buddies and neighbours. He also invited Brian, the only native Australian in the neighbourhood. He held the party around the pool in the backyard of his mansion. Everyone was having a good time, drinking, dancing, eating prawns and oysters from the barbecue, and flirting. Then, at the height of the party, the millionaire said, "I have a 15-foot man-eating crocodile in my pool, and I'll give $1 million to anyone who'll join him in the pool." The words were barely out of his mouth when there was a loud splash. Everyone turned around and saw Brian in the pool, fighting madly with the crocodile, jabbing it in the eyes with his thumbs, throwing punches, head-butting it, getting it in chokeholds, biting its tail and flipping it through the air like some kind of martial arts expert. The water was churning and splashing everywhere. Both Brian and the crocodile were screaming and raising hell. Finally, after what seemed like ages, Brian strangled the crocodile and let it float to the top of the pool like a dead goldfish. An exhausted Brian wearily climbed out of the pool with everybody staring at him in disbelief. The millionaire said, "Well, Brian, I guess I owe you $1 million then." "Nah, you're all right, man. I don't want it," said Brian. So the millionaire said, "I have to give you something. You won the bet." "How about $500,000? "No thanks, I don't want it," Brian insisted. The millionaire said, "Come on, I insist on giving you something." That was amazing. "How about a new Porsche, a Rolex, and some stock options?" Once again, Brian said, "No thanks." Confused, the rich man asked, "Well, Brian, then what do you want?" Brian replied, "I want the bastard who pushed me in." There was an Irishman, a Mexican, and a blonde guy who were construction workers working on top of a building. It was lunchtime, and the Irishman opened his lunch pail, finding cabbage and beef. "If I get one more beef and cabbage for lunch, I'm gonna jump off of this building," he says. Then the Mexican opens his lunch pail and finds a taco. "If I get one more taco for lunch, I'm gonna jump off this building," he says. The blonde man opens his lunch pail and finds a peanut butter sandwich. "If I get one more peanut butter sandwich, I'm gonna jump off of this building." The next day, the Irishman opened his lunch pail and found cabbage and beef, so he jumped off the building to his death. Next, the Mexican opened his lunch pail, and upon finding a taco, he jumped off as well. Finally, the blonde guy opened his lunch pail and found a peanut butter sandwich. He too jumped off the building. The next day at their funeral, the Irishman's wife said, "If only I knew that he didn't like cabbage and beef, I would surely have packed him something else." The Mexican's wife said, "If only I knew he didn't like tacos, I would have packed something else." Finally, the blonde man's wife spoke up. "I don't know what his problem was. He packed his own lunch,